Hi, Tim. I am going away on Saturday to Spain to visit my sister who's teaching there for the year. I'm going to visit her for 2 weeks. So I am trying to get my screencast done before I leave. And then your paper or your poem that you do next week, I'm going to try to respond to that and do a screencast back to that. My sister said she has spotty internet, but she does have internet, so I will still respond to your piece next week. I'm not sure on exactly the timing of that. But for this week, I wanted to do it early before I left so that I could make sure that I would do it, or that I got to do it. So, I really like your poetry. You kind of surprised me because I did not expect you to be a poet. But I didn't not expect you to be a poet, but I'm surprised how good of a poet you are. I've noticed a theme in your writing, your cross country trips, your mountain biking, your whitewater rafting. It seems like you're someone who's really into nature and our world, and that nature is something that I find really interesting to read about in poetry, and I think it's something that's really interesting to write about. I think nature has a lot of poetic pieces to it, so that's kind of cool that you're into that. It should be easier for you to write poetry pulling from nature. So, with that being said, I really liked this piece. I liked a lot about it. The first thing that, just looking at your poem, the first thing that I see is I like the spaces, the line spacing. Um, while I was reading your poem, the line spacing helped to create, you had kind of a rhythm that you created, and the line spacing helped to create that rhythm. What also helped to create that rhythm are your almost rhymes. I like that rocks and thoughts and raft and last, they're not perfect rhymes. I like that. And tremble cymbals, I like that they're a little bit off. Nest and best are exact, but I like your almost rhymes probably better than your perfect rhymes. I think it's a artsy touch and it still has that rhythm and the nice sound to it. I think you did a very nice job including some similes and metaphors here to get your reader to make that comparison and have a picture in their head. This was my absolute favorite. With a foot on the shore, a bird freed from its nest. This was my absolute favorite because that is something that is not compared every day. I've never heard that comparison before. People getting off a boat or a raft, and stepping onto land, being compared to a bird leaving its nest. I've never heard those two things compared, and I think I like thinking about those. It gave me an understanding of the freeing feeling and like being able to fly kind of. But I think it's a cool comparison because you're comparing being able to fly to stepping on land. Anyway, I loved that. It was perfect. So I think that you can do more of that in your poem with some of our wording that is more commonly heard. Like raging waters crashing down gives a good picture, but you hear that all the time. You hear raging waters, and you hear the water comes crashing down on rocks. Like that's a picture, and those are words that I hear all the time. And I want you to give me words. You want your poem to be as unique as possible. So I would like you to try and take some of those words that we hear all the time, that some of the similes and metaphors that people beat to death so much that they lose their meaning, they lose their effect. Replace those with words like this: with a foot on shore, a bird freed from its nest, with comparisons that we do not hear every day. So the other one that I pointed out that we hear a lot is clanging cymbals. I realize that this is kind of going to mess up your almost rhyming, tremble, cymbal. I realize that's going to kind of mess it up. But I think we could find some language that is not heard every day and a comparison that's not made all the time, like you did with this one. Because that's what makes your poetry unique. That's what makes it interesting to read. And you obviously have it in ya, because this is pretty neat. And I like that your poem went from kind of like a climax, the raging waters crashing down and people being afraid, and you're trembling, your anxiety is high, and then it ended on a calm. I thought that was a good emotion, good place to take your reader as far as emotions as well. So anyway, you seem like quite the poet. I think that with a little bit of editing, this could be a pretty powerful piece. So I would love this if you edited this piece and resubmitted this piece so I got to see this exact piece again. Okay? But if you want to do another one that's another poem, you could do that too. But I really want to see this poem edited and see it improve, because it's so good. And then if you edit it, you could just take it to the next level. All right. Well, I hope you have a good week. And I really hope that I'm able to have a good internet connection in Spain so that I am able to screencast you next week as well. But I'm just giving you the heads up just in case. But I'm still going to try. Okay. All right. Good work with poetry. I will talk to you next week. Bye, Tim.